So for us with our recent program, there's probably a couple of key parts to that. So firstly, we had a real sort of need to, or a real requirement to offer our supply finance offering to our entire supply base. So we weren't looking just to sort of cherry pick some of the bigger suppliers where we potentially might gain a bigger cash benefit. So it was really all about offering it to our entire supply base, and we see this very much as something that provides a sort of finance support to the whole supply base. So that was what we were looking for as we went with our program. And also, I guess, as a second step, we wanted something that was easy to onboard. With a significant number of suppliers, we don't want a program that would distract our business too heavily. We're going through a lot of change at the moment, and therefore asking our business to get too involved in supplier negotiations onto a finance program was always going to be a difficult ask. So for us, those are the two key parts that we were looking for that were maybe different to some other programs I've worked on previously. And hence, we chose a FinTech largely because they could offer an opportunity to reach out to suppliers big and small. And as I say, we didn't just focus on small, so we're focusing across the entire supplier base. So yeah, the FinTech was a fairly obvious place for us to go to deliver that. Yeah. So our program gives us the opportunity gives us the functionality to offer a dynamic discounting solution in the future. We see that very much as a future option for us. At the moment, our drive is very much about delivering greater cash value, and we use our supply finance to support that initiative. So at the moment, we don't want to introduce a dynamic discounting solution to our suppliers, largely because it would erode that cash benefit that we're driving for. So it's definitely an option for the future. And again, another great reason to choose the FinTech we did was that we can go with the supplier finance today, but that doesn't preclude us from moving into a dynamic discounting world tomorrow. So very much on our agenda, something we're thinking about often. And as our business model or as our business performance moves forward, I think dynamic discounting will become a real option for us in the years to come. But for today, it's really all about supplier finance and how that supports our cash agenda. Yeah, and I guess for us, that's been our key success on this program so far, that we were able, right from our board level downwards, so we received board level sponsorship, and we received some very visual, very sort of personal support from our organisation, particularly through procurement. So we hear a lot about the challenge of bringing procurement to the party, but actually for us, procurement are right in the centre of what we're doing. And for me, that's quite key, because we're talking to suppliers, we're talking to our business colleagues who work with suppliers. So they do tend to take their lead from procurement in an organisation like ours. So we were able largely to explain to our stakeholders the value that our supply finance solution would offer, and I think also the value to our procurement teams, the benefit they could get from being able to offer a supplier finance solution. And as I mentioned previously, it has a low touch. So our procurement teams and other teams do not have to get heavily involved in our onboarding process. They can still do their day job, they're working on our strategic supplier relationships, etc. And this program can almost happen in the background. So we were able to really bring all of those stakeholders to the party, and very, as I said, very visually. We were able to place a video of our CPO promoting our program onto a website for both internal business users and also our suppliers, to really drive out the value that we see that the business would get from this program. So yeah, we were able to get those guys involved very early. They understood the program, they could see the value that it would drive, and the fact that again with the use of the FinTech, the amount of effort required by our procurement teams was very light. And of course they like that. And what I find as we've now gone live and we're starting to build up the program, the business is increasingly becoming quite excited by what this might offer. And how are we doing that? Largely by, it's through sort of communication, contacts, and actually just working with people to explain. So that seems to have been very successful for us. In my view, our most successful attribute to our project has been that stakeholder engagement. Yeah, a couple of lessons learned, and probably one thing we do differently. So a couple of the areas that have really challenged us is firstly the quality of our supplier data. So not unlike many other organisations, our supplier data is not as good as we'd like it to be. We found particularly that the number of good quality email addresses that we have on our system is not to the level we'd like it to be, which was somewhat of a shock, and it has sort of moved us in the direction of developing some data standards around supplier data that we didn't have previously. So I guess we've learned a lesson because we've started to build a data standard. So data quality is a challenge, and it remains a challenge as we create increasing numbers of suppliers. We need to ensure that we capture all of the important data attributes. And sometimes our business users, they don't want to give you an email address or other details. They just want you to have the supplier name. Just set the supplier up, and they're not really appreciating the impact of not having all those other data sets. So we've done a lot of work to improve that, but it's not a challenge that you can fix in a few moments, but it's definitely something we've improved. So that was definitely something we learned. I guess the second thing, and certainly something we would have done better next time, or we would do better next time, is we made the cardinal mistake of not involving IT quickly enough. So having said that, we got all of our stakeholders engaged, we very much focused on our business stakeholders and didn't reach out to IT fast enough, and that definitely caused us some problems. Didn't amend the overall program, but it certainly slowed us down. In the first few months, it cost us some time. If I had my time again, I would have talked to them first.